Greetings, welcome to In-Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. The Institution of Fire Engineers Caribbean and South American Branch, they're hosting their first AGM, and we have a conference to discuss to go in-depth on the theme of a regional approach to building capacity and capability. We are joined by Executive Lead, Emergency Management and Response, Amali St Cyr, and IFCE CASA Secretary, Jenelle Ross-McIntyre. Welcome, ladies. How are you doing?
Thank you for having us. We are happy to be here. Thank you for the privilege to share this great opportunity and occasion with all of your viewing audience. We appreciate it very much. Thank you.
And we appreciate you for making the time. And with that, let's set the whole context of it before we even talk about AGM and conference. Amali, what's the importance of being regional in an approach to building capability, building competence, building capacity? Why try to do it on this regional scale?
Okay, let me first say thank you for having us and good afternoon to your listening audience. So presently we are planning our annual inaugural general meeting and conference. With our overarching theme, it being a regional approach to capacity and capability building. Now, this auspicious inaugural event will amalgamate fire engineering leaders and professionals, first responders, government officials, and stakeholders from across the Caribbean and South America in establishing a unified approach to fire prevention, risk, disaster management, and emergency response. Now, let me just give you a little background before we get into a lot of stuff, right? So the Institution of Fire Engineer, IFE, is a global professional membership body for those in the fire sector that seek to increase their knowledge, professional recognition, and the understanding of fire through a global discourse. Now, with over 100 years of history, the IFE is instrumental in shaping a future world that is safer for fire. However, us in the CASA region, we are being very deliberate and steadfast in providing the knowledge required to strengthen the skills and the instincts of fire engineers, not only them, but also emergency response professionals and risk and crisis management professionals, enabling them to actively identify, develop, and sustain targeted capabilities that are really necessary for continuous improvement, and also reducing the occurrences of fire and other incidents. Yeah, so we're going ahead in the very, very deliberate in the CASA region, with the backing of some serious consultants within our executive leadership, persons with background in faculty engineering, specialist behavior sciences, pre-hospital, of course, medical professionals, crisis management, an array of serious talents to start to fortify and develop our human capacity.
And with that, Jenelle, I want to bring into the conversation because Mali raised a raft of issues that I want us to go in one by one, but we may not have the time, so let's try to do it quickly. What is it about the CASA region that makes you want to be a little more inclusive to say, okay, well, it's not just this cohort, or let me ask that differently. Who is the ideal candidate for this conference that is happening, in addition to when is the conference taking place?
Okay, thank you. Our conference, our first inaugural conference and AGM is happening on June 20th and 21st at the Hyatt Regency Port of Spain, Trinidad. And it is imperative that we make the note that it's Institution of Fire Engineers, Caribbean and South America. So the CASA represents Caribbean and South America, Caribbean region, and the South American continent. And this is an area that we've seen in the past few months to years really expand and, start to develop and be a focus of the world in terms of development. We see what's happening in Guyana. We see how the world has changed post-COVID, and everyone's looking at what's next, what's new. And this is a time of redevelopment for our region. It's a time for us to go inward, for us to look at what went well in the past and what could be better for the future. And that's why our theme of building regional capacity. I mean, in the last year and a bit, we've experienced so many different disaster and risk-based scenarios, whether it's the volcano in St. Vincent, the tropical depressions that we face every year, and fire, loads of different instances of fire, Trinidad, Jamaica, Guyana, and Antigua, loads of really high profile instances of fire that makes us now, sits back and question, say, well, okay, what could we do better? Because every year that comes, we have the risk of dry season and bushfires, etc. Suriname is really prone to that. And what we've found with IFE CASA, as we started off with our sensitization workshops and stuff last year, it was an opportunity to have the discussions, and we realized we're not that different. We're separated by water and land, but in an instance, we're going through the same issues, the same problems. So instead of reinventing the wheel, let's come together and let's see what works well, hear what might be plausible as a regional initiative or approach or policy that we could apply and support, and let's help each other build. On top of that, especially St. Vincent has shown that when things really go wrong, we need our neighbors to come and out the fire on our roof.
You would both were just speaking about it makes sense to build skills, to build capacity. So
definitely,
are there sometimes when we hear fire engineer or firefighter, do we just think about somebody jumping off a fire truck? What are some of those things that we're trying to work towards, and how is IFE CASA dealing with building that knowledge gap, that skills gap, that competence gap? So yes, this person might be doing this, but they also are not faced with a position where, if I'd known this before, it would have helped me in this situation, which is kind of new to me. How is IFE CASA dealing with that?
Definitely. Great question. So before I go to that, let me share a little thing. Just the other day, someone asked me, Sarah Marley, do you know the difference between a job and a career? And they started to share. They said a job is where a person performs a duty for payment, what we refer to nowadays as hustling. And a career is an occupation that is undertaken by a professional for a significant period of their life with the opportunity of progress, professional development, enhancement, and also investment. Now, this is what IFE CASA proposes for its regional people, a way for you to foster a sense of ownership, belonging, and pride, in knowing that you are real stakeholders in the whole scheme of things. And this is where our membership drive really comes in, because we have some really, really awesome benefits for our people.
And one of the things we're going to be talking about those benefits in just a bit. We return from this break. Stay with us, because we're now really kind of getting into the meat of the matter. And one of the things I also want to talk about is applications for certification courses. So stay with us. We return with more. Welcome back. We are going in depth on the work of IFE CASA. Let me break it down a little bit. The Institution of Fire Engineers, Caribbean and South American Branch. We're doing so with Secretary Jenelle Ross-McIntyre, as well as the Executive Lead Emergency Management and Response, St Cyr. And just before we took the break, I was asking about the certification courses. Who's going to take that? Do I ask you, Jenelle, or do I ask you, Amali?
I'll take it. Thank you. Certification. So first of all, I need to make the distinction between certification and credentialing. And that is very important. Before we broke up, Amali went through the difference between a job and a career, and they highlighted the importance of a professional, and that's what we're building, professionals. So as a membership organization, IFE CASA is focused on continual professional development, and your grade and the standard of you as a professional is tracked by your ability to continually learn, grow, develop, advance in your specific field and area, all right, within the scope of this industry. So IFE has its certification exams, which are global exams, because IFE is a global organization, and these are run annually, March and October, so twice for the year, and they cover various levels of competency. Entry level will be level 2, which is equivalent to level 1, 2 CVQ qualification. So what IFE has done is we're not taking the external and just bringing it in and saying that's the standard. We are actually, and we have mapped these qualifications against what we do within the region. So we are really taking a regional approach. It then moves on to level 3, which would be level 3 at CVQ, and then you have level 4, which would be level 4, 5 CVQ level. And the idea is, yes, doing the training, gaining the knowledge and being certified, validating that knowledge, but this is a technical field. So you could read the book, you could understand what it says, and may not be able to apply that knowledge in field.
And this is one of the things I wanted to ask about, because there's sometimes you may say, well, wait, no, we went to the same class, we had the same practicals, but what are you doing? I find you making my piece of paper look bad because of your actions. So having the piece of paper is one thing, but being able to function in that field and environment, especially when you're talking about emergency responses where you literally have lives hanging in the balance, I think it's really important that people are able to say, well, yes, this person has this piece of paper, but they can do what the paper says they can do.
Exactly. So there is a huge difference between certification and competency, understanding that you are competent. And that is where we come in, where we test your competency. We want to know that, look, you understand, but how do you apply this to different scenarios? How do you, put it in context with real life situations? Yes, you may read the textbook front to cover, but when it comes to a circumstance or situation, what is applicable, what is irrelevant, what might contend with a theoretical approach, because we are looking to develop well-rounded professionals. So whatever situations you're put in, you have a footing to start to grow, to develop.
And you can't just say, well, the book never had that, They never teach me that in class, The house, the roof was an angle at 60 degrees in this scenario that we did. So I can't function here. But with that in mind, Amali, who is the person that you really want to attend this conference? And I say that because when you look at the run the gamut, and you have risk and crisis management professionals, I can see someone saying, okay, well, I'm not a fire engineer, but I do deal with risk management and mitigation. I am an emergency responder. So who are the people that you want to say, okay, well, this is, you are part of our target audience?
So yes, we are happy to engage, of course, all stakeholders. I would have mentioned before persons from the fire fraternity, emergency response, risk and crisis management. But again, when we consider the role that firefighters play in our lives, I usually say they're the chief cook and bottle washers. They are involved in every facet of our society. So we are welcoming everyone. And we also, encouraging persons to get on board as members because we have so many things to offer. Yeah, providing knowledge and expertise, that is required to strengthen skills and instinct on really solving most of these problems.
And in terms of the activities that will happen during the 2 days, you told me when the days are, Jenelle, but what are some of those specific granular details of the conference? What are some of those things that we can look forward to, key activities?
Right, great. So it's a 3-day event. Officially on 2 days. We have on the Monday, the 20th, we open the conference and we have our official welcome. We will have present our international president from Australia and the CEO of IFE globally, Steve Ham from out of the UK. They'll be in attendance, and a few of the other regional branches. US is also going to be in attendance. So we're going to have an official welcome by our local CFO, Arnold Bristow, welcoming the attendees and the regional and international visitors to the conference. Then we will go into looking at the concept of IFE and the regional approach to capacity building, looking at why it's important. We have CFO Maynard, who is CAFCE's president, current president, looking at the importance of a unified approach. Why is it important that we all come together and start thinking about policy, regional implementation approach and standards, as it relates to fire risk and disaster management? It's because we all have shared experiences, as I said earlier, and it is important that as a collective, we don't differ too much in our approach, especially when we need to lean on each other for support. So he would be going in depth into that. We then look at professional development, another point we touched on earlier, and the importance and the possibilities within IFE CASA and through the support of IFE CASA to provide that across the region. On day 2, we get into the crux of it. We have a range of panels and we want to engage our stakeholders. So we want to have the hard discussions and hear the experiences and find the solutions to the current problems. Key things such as succession planning. This is something that, is an issue in terms of the profession, ensuring that we put in place and we groom the leaders of the future, to ensure that there's continuity in the knowledge and the experience, and we don't just wait till someone come out of that office and then scamper to find a suitable replacement. We need to have options, right? And we need to prepare those options. So that is something that's going to be spoken about. Maintenance and asset management. We suffer with that, and that's a cultural thing. We don't like to hear it, but when you buy the equipment, when you buy the technology, it doesn't come, fixing itself. It doesn't come with a little elf in the pocket. You have to maintain it. You have to either subscribe to a maintenance plan or put things in place and people in place and train people locally. You can't wait for someone to come from halfway across the world to fix something, equipment that you spend so much money on. You have to have people on the ground to offer immediate support. And these
things,
are
in terms of one, bringing people across from, sometimes people don't know little nuances that make the entire world of difference. That is one. You spoke about culture. Sometimes we have a culture only talking good about people after the dead. And I think sometimes, so I also want to make mention, I think there's a gala hosted by the Chief Fire Officer to close the ceremony, and it will also be giving flowers, that's the term this round, or acknowledging the work of people who have labored in the vineyard while they are still here to receive that accolade and that acknowledgement. And the last thing, we're always resource strapped and looking for ways to find information so we can operate from data. I think these sorts of conversations will help on a regional level. So when you're looking at governmental sorts of policy, they're able to draw from work that is being done by IFE CASA. But we have 30 seconds more, and Amali, I'll leave that with you.
Okay, so again, we would love to have everyone. at our inaugural conference. I think I'm going to hand over to Jenelle because she would have all of the handles. She's more equipped with all of the handles.
No problem. Take it away.
Thank
15
you.
seconds, Jenelle.
Okay, great. We would love to have you at our conference. We welcome you to go to our social media, Facebook and LinkedIn at IFE CASA. There you'd find online links to online registration for members, non-members to attend. We also do have a virtual option. And we also welcome you to reach out and connect with us if you have any questions around membership and being part of IFE CASA and being part of the change and process. So we welcome you and we're excited to see you on the 20th and the 21st of June at Hyatt Regency Port of Spain.
Jenelle Ross-McIntyre, Amali St Cyr, I want to thank you very much and thank IFE CASA for the work that you are doing. And on behalf of the entire TGT News team, this has been In Depth with me, Dike Rostant. Thank you so much for joining us.